do a live to celebrate hitting 20,000 for a minute, but we just haven't been able to make it work. So here we are today celebrating. We're so excited. Um, Somebody was saying, can you not wait till you get to 100,000? And I was like, actually, I like having a smaller channel. It feels a little bit more intimate, and it feels like we can stay, we just get to have more one-on-one. I try to answer everybody's comments. I try to answer everybody. Yeah, there we go. I try to answer everyone's, at least our members for sure, all of their comments. What is happening? Why are we
Blinking.
glitching all over? There we go. So it's been exciting around here. Sorry, I've had a little bit of a runny nose. My goodness. So
Yeah, we got snow here in the last couple days, so
we did.
yep.
We did.
No, it feels like we've been in summer or at least spring weather since Christmas, and now all of a sudden it's back to Christmas. So
Yeah.
keeps changing.
Yeah, you.
Goodness.
Oh,
So,
come on. Why do I always do that? Mine's always on. Come on. So how's everybody doing? Let's see. My sister M's on. Your sister Katie's on. Hi, girls. I was so happy for you when you reached that goal. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. It's kind of exciting.
With only, yeah, we definitely will celebrate when we hit 100. But the whole reason that 10,000 and 20,000 was a milestone for us because AUB claims that they have 20,000 or 10,000
10,000 members.
followers, and so we were like, when we hit 10,000 followers, it was like, hey, we're as big as the AUB. Now at 20,000, we're like, okay. So 20,000, we're bigger than the AUB, and I don't even think the AUB has that many followers. I think they're blowing up their numbers. They don't have the algorithm to prove that they have that many followers.
Right.
So
Right. I think it's funny. So thank you to whoever recommended these Flint mints. No, they're not sponsored. No, we're not getting paid for them, but somebody had sent me the link to them and I logged on immediately and
Closer
ordered
to the
them for
mic.
my dry mouth. But if they do want to sponsor us, we would absolutely love that. So,
yeah.
but yeah, we're definitely not sponsored, but I'm going to pop one in really quick. Hopefully don't have a problem. What
Yeah.
would you say?
You're better than the AUB. More honest than they are. They don't like how honest we are about their own teachings. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, we were talking to Sam and Melissa from Growing Up in Polygamy. They're going to be at the Holding Out Help event next week. For those of you that aren't aware, I'll be emceeing that event. So I'm excited and then slightly nervous. There's going to be a lot of people there, somewhere between 300 and 400. So that's going to be fun. I get to get up on stage and pretend I know what I'm doing and talk in front of people. So the dry mouth thing, it's called, this one's called Flint's, Flintts. And they're actually kind of pricey, but they're really good. I mean, they're a good flavor so far. They're supposed to help with the dry mouth. Yeah, Mel's all famous now. I wish. No, I actually don't know if I wish, but yeah, it'll be a fun event. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it because here's the biggest thing is I feel like right out of the gate, we really wanted to be advocates for people and we weren't always sure which direction to go with that. And then aligning ourselves with Holding Out Help and some of their causes really helps us to feel like we are more advocating for people to get out of abusive situations. Now, again, not everyone in polygamy feels like they're in abuse, and that's fine. We respect those that do live in healthy, happy relationships, but unfortunately, that's not the majority of people. So yeah, we're gonna be advocating and trying to help as many people as we can that want help, that feel like they're in an abusive situation. So. Oh, I didn't know that. Dry mouth is horrible. People with autoimmune disorders get it frequently. So I do have Hashimoto's. So maybe that is another reason why I get it. I don't know. Yeah, I saw you on the news. How exciting. Thanks, Katie. Yeah. Yeah, that was promoting Holding Out Help as well. it's going to be fun. I think we're going to do a Q&A coming up real soon for our members. So watch for that too if you're a member of our channel. I think we're going to do kind of more where we answer some deeper questions. So, and then we'll be having our series of 27 Laws of Polygamy. We'll be dropping that first video on Monday. So I'm excited about that. What did you see?
Just a question of how many, do we know how many each group claims to have? Growing up, I thought that the FLDS was just a little bit bigger than ours.
And my understanding is they're like 4,500 or something like that.
But
I know their numbers have dwindled too.
Yeah, but when Warren, I think they split pretty heavily when Warren went to jail. And that's the interesting part. You really don't know because everybody kind of keeps everything secret. And when a prophet sends out a declaration that whatever it is, there's some people that just go, you know what, we're not following them anymore. They just cease and desist hanging out with them, and eventually then their wives are encouraged to leave them. And so I would say there's a bunch of independents that the AUB probably claims in some way because they're related to people within the group too. So but they claim 10,000. Again, they can't claim me because they excommunicated me, but
they will still.
Yeah.
Thank you. Somebody said the dentist recommended Biotine. I went to the dentist on Wednesday. He said the same thing. I've been doing Biotine too, the dry mouth wash. But yeah, oil pulling is great too. You can do that with, somebody says, what is oil pulling? You can get some organic, typically coconut oil, and you just swish it in your mouth for 10 minutes in the morning and pulls out a bunch of, it is kind of gross. I've struggled doing it because I gag a lot on it because I'm like, oh, I'm going to end up swallowing all this oil. But yeah, it's definitely been helpful. My sister does it all the time. She loves it. Somebody says after the show Sister Wives, no one will run to the AUB. So it's interesting. I wanted to address a rumor that I had heard that because Mary was on our channel 2 weeks ago, and she had made a comment that they were leaving, that they were considering leaving the AUB before they even started the show. And so I kind of wanted to address that. Now, I haven't talked to Mary about this personally. I was actually going to reach out to her about it because she had made a comment, that she had considered, taking off her garments. So one of the things I wanted to address is in these types of polygamous communities, they're typically based on an apostasy, on top of an apostasy, all the way back to the mainstream LDS church. Well, back before the show started, there was the prophet that had been the prophet most of our whole lives, because Rulin Allred was murdered, and then Owen Allred became the prophet, and he was the prophet for 30-something years. Every time there's a death or a switch up in leadership, you have a huge splinters that splinter off. People start questioning the new leader. They start questioning. So when Owen Allred was the leader, he actually went against the standard protocol. There's supposed to be order in the way that things are done. And again, this is why we say the AUB makes up the rules as they go along, and is because Owen, before he died, hopscotched over a couple of different people that were supposed to be the prophet next, based on seniority, based on, their call to the leadership council. So you've got the one prophet, 12 apostles, and Owen Allred skipped over a couple of these people and called in Lemoyne Jensen. Well, that threw up some red flags for a lot of people in the AUB, and a lot of people started questioning things and wanting to leave. So I can't confirm that rumor's true, but I could see why it would be. Then when Lemoyne Jensen passed away, he did the same thing. He hopscotched over a couple of people and called in Lynn Thompson to be the next prophet. Again, this this splintered the AUB into a million little factions, and especially in Pinesdale, because the two prophets that got skipped over were from Pinesdale. And so then when Lynn Thompson passed, he swore he wouldn't pass that day, and then he ended up passing, and my dad just defaulted because he hadn't assigned anyone else, and my dad was the most senior on the leadership. He was the most senior, in order of being called to leadership. So it just defaulted to my dad. Now, had Lynn Thompson been called somebody to be a part of the leadership, he might have skipped over my dad. He might have gone to somebody else, which then would have caused a million more factions to split. So I know that when Lemoyne Jensen came into leadership, it caused a lot of problems, and a lot of people left the AUB. And then when Lynn Thompson came in, it was even worse because he was accused of abuse, essaying some of his daughters. There was a bunch of that kind of stuff out there, and a lot of people left the AUB at that point. So just kind of wanted to address that. I just think that Bunny says the fact that the Browns agreed to do the show supports what Mary said about their having already thought of leaving the AUB back then. Yeah, and so I can see that being true, but again, I haven't verified any of that with Mary.
Because they were going against probably AUB recommendation of them. The AUB had said, yeah, you guys shouldn't do this. And so they're going actually against what the church is saying that they should do. And so in a way being on the outs with the church at that point in time. So
yeah. And so I can see this being probably, maybe because Mary was like, yeah, we weren't sure. And I said, well, I saw your garments on the show. I've seen them. I've seen their garments. I've seen them all wear them. And she was like, yeah, well, we had to do our pretenses. We had to still act like we were a part of stuff. And again, they probably hadn't completely decided to leave. It was one of those where every time there's a new prophet, it shakes people's foundational, because most of the time, and don't come at me if you're an AUB member, because I'm sorry, in my reality, this is the truth. People put their faith in the man. They don't put their faith in the actual religion itself. And so they put their faith in this man who is leading and directing them. And so when that man falters or goes, against what they truly believe, then
they're charismatic leader. Yeah, a lot of them base their whole religion off of what that charismatic leader told them or taught them.
Yep.
Not necessarily how the community itself is being run as those leaders change. So
Yep. And Corey's sister says, I think my mom said the reason was because they wanted the leadership to stay in Utah, but I know one of the men offered to move to Utah in order to become the leader.
Yeah.
And exactly that's what we had heard too. And then when this particular gentleman offered to move to Utah, then it was brought out, well, we don't feel like you guys are worthy enough for the position, so we hopscotched over you. So.
And usually by their teachings from before, if a man was passed over, it was because he had done something wrong or what have you. And so then he would be judged by the other council members and deemed unworthy. And usually that would be announced over the pulpit.
Right.
These guys were just, none of that ever happened. They were just, we're choosing to hopscotch over these guys and go to the next one. And everybody was surprised when they did that. But based on how they have run the community of their prophets, Rulon came into power because they hopscotched over the senior leadership who
were in the FLDS
to create the AUB. So, and so
the AUB truly is based upon an apostasy upon an apostasy upon an apostasy.
A hopscotch. And so the only reason that and Rulon might have announced that Owen is the next prophet, but the only reason he was murdered. So then they brought in the next next leader, which was Owen, has sustained him. And then it went hopscotch, hopscotch. And then unfortunately the last prophet died before he could announce his successor. And so it went back to senior thing. Your dad might play the old hopscotch rule again when at the end. So
He might, yeah. My dad
Because-
might hopscotch over a couple of people who were senior to him.
there you go.
And
So-
Lynn Thompson was one of the last original council members when the AUB was established. And so now my dad's like the new generation, because
Yeah.
Lynn Thompson was just a very young council member when he was assigned to be at the council. So yeah, that's so when Mary makes those comments, I can see why she would, because that's right when the transition of power, if you will, came about in the AUB, and it makes sense. But again, I haven't confirmed that with her. And I just want
Paula
to thank
M.
you so much, Paula M, for that super chat. It says, let's celebrate her first super chat on a live stream. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you,
And then
Paula.
thank you, Not That Jake, for joining our membership. We really appreciate that. So yeah, and then we've got some people from Brazil. And
Welcome, not that Jake.
I love this. Thank you so much. Just be kind to people. That's my religion. That's how we feel too. We're very
Exactly.
much that way. Yeah, we definitely feel that way. So yeah, I can see, again, just wanted to, because I've been getting a ton of like emails asking me about that. So I thought we'll just address that on our live. I can absolutely see that. Oh, thank you, Paula. Paula M just gifted 10 memberships to people. Thank you. Let's see. Mel, could your dad hand power over to any of his children? He really could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, he'd have to make them council members.
Right.
So yeah, he would go in and make them council members, usually by. But here's the interesting part. Usually when they are saying, hey, we're going to bring in council members, it's talking, they're supposed to talk to those current council members and bring them in, get them all to agree. But he could, like with Rulon, when Rulon came in, the prophet at that time called 12 new council members, hopping over, based on their religion, popping over the other council members that were in before him. So
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he could.
so yeah, he could.
And
So-
I'm sure that it does happen.
Based on tradition, he could.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the difference too is that the FLDS, they came down to a one-man show, where the AUB still tries to stick with the foundational leadership, because when Joseph Smith created the church, there was supposed to be law, like there was supposed to be order, and they laid out the way that the church should be ran. Joseph Smith or Brigham Young,
Yeah, there you go. The Council of Prophets.
right?
Or
School of
the School of
Prophets.
Prophets.
But
Tried
the
to organize
FLDS
it.
veered away from that and went to a one man has all power. AUB has tried to stay where there's still 12 apostles. They just can't keep those darn guys in there because they all keep getting accused of child abuse. So they can't keep their leadership in power, unfortunately. But yeah, so he really does. It takes all of the men deciding. And yes, Corey's sister says Lynn Thompson split Pinedale in half. They had two different times after. Yes, so in Pinedale they called them didn't they call them the Lynnites or something like Lynnites? And so Montana literally split into 2 or 3
Different factions. Yeah.
because they didn't believe that Lynn Thompson should be the leader. So, yeah. And this again, tell me that you're in a cult without telling me you're in a cult. Oh, let's see. I don't know. Let's just split the church in half 5 different times every time, But this is one of the reasons in the Mormon church, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, people pretty much know who's going to be the next prophet based upon the structuring of how the church is supposed to be ran. But when you're the AUB or you're the FLDS or you're the Kingstons, you just make shit up as you go along. There you go. So, And I like this comment. Thank you. People often have several crises of faith before leaving a religion, let alone high controlled ones. It can take decades. Sometimes we wouldn't label it as questioning at the time, but once out, we do question it. That's exactly. I've had several crises of faith, which we talked about. Oh gosh, I absolutely agree with this one. Maybe it's time to let the women run the AUB. Oh, I absolutely agree with that one. So, oh, absolutely. Here, let me
There'd
put
be a-
this comment up here. Did you guys ever consider that some of the polygamy groups may be violating human rights in some of their actions? 100%. Allegedly against members, especially the absolutely. I'm sorry, even the AUB does this.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
all factions do it to some extent. So yeah,
absolutely.
it's been a history of that. That's why modern prophets or modern members of each one of these kind of are getting in trouble because they're following what previous high leadership have done, and that's
Right.
marrying the 14 to 15 to 16-year-olds, which is frowned upon, but with some people within the community, because they'd want to not look like that they're what is it basically grooming these small
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And so some of the people within it, but other people within the community going, well, this prophet did it or this leader did it, so we're going to do it. We have the right to do it too.
Right.
Even up till, I mean, I remember it happening when I was young. So,
Right.
and they would deny it. Most of them would deny it. They didn't want to see it. They looked the
Right.
other way, but they did. So,
Right. And the child labor is crazy. Absolutely. There is several human rights violations. But when you look at women and children as your property, they don't believe it. And they don't believe that they're violating any human rights with anyone. But how can you not when you view your woman and your children as objects that you own? I mean, I will never forget the day that I got married to my ex-husband, and literally we're kneeling over the altar and we're saying our to-dos, whatever it is, and he stands up, and my mom was mortified. She was like, he instantly, I knew instantly I just became his property. And I was terrified at that moment. I remember sitting there like, what the hell did I just do to myself voluntarily? And I can never get out of this now. I'm screwed for the rest of my life. And he let everyone in that room know he now owned me, and I was now his property. And he was 25 and I was a couple days into 17. So yeah, it is absolutely.
but you were very mature for your age.
Yeah,
Had to be, but
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. There's so. I know Corey's facial reactions. I love it. I know he makes fun of me all the time about stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry. This is just how it happened. Oh, Mel, thanks for sharing your weight loss journey. I've started mine. So inspiring to see someone who has preserved and had great success. Thank you. Yeah, I started a couple years ago when my daughter was going to get married, and I just wanted to. And so I lost the first 40 pounds on my own. But then and I had gained so much weight. I went into a pretty severe depression, and then we had our first granddaughter, and I was just like, I wanted to be healthy and happy for her. And I had a lot of shame and guilt. And I was, again, going through what I would consider another crisis of faith of like, what kind of a person am I? And so I lost that first 40 pounds on my own. And then I went on tirzepatide and to help me lose the rest of it. And that helps with PCOS symptoms and stuff like that. So I had gone on a low dose for that. And yeah, it's been amazing. I have been working out hard. I'm actually getting some guns that are pretty impressive. I won't even lie. So I'm excited about it. But I've actually lost almost 20% body fat. So that's been really exciting for me. I actually watched the body fat more than I watched the weight. But yeah, what were you saying?
Awesome.
Did you see anything that did I miss one?
Just Cody's. Yeah, there you go.
You two should have Ben Brown, Cody's nephew, on the podcast. He talks about being a victim of child labor as a child working at the grandfather's bakery. And Ben lives like we've talked several times. He actually just lives like 10 minutes from us. And so, yeah, I think that's a possibility. We could have him come probably in studio and just do something here with him. I'll have to reach out to him because yeah, he's funny. I actually really appreciate him. What were you looking at?
It's just interesting, yeah, the kind of the way each of us was brought up. I mean, us working it as growing up as a kid, as a child within we were working to build up the kingdom of God and build up our family's status within the
Right.
community. And so it was almost like you were expected to have a job or work for the community or do service projects but it was getting that work ethic going along to build up. So you never expected, we didn't ever expect as children. We thought we were blessed that we got to keep basically, what was it, 30%?
30% of your
Yeah,
paycheck.
that was our allowance is we got to keep a portion of what we earned. And so we
Yeah.
thought we were especially blessed growing up in that. And so, yeah, it's just a different mindset. I didn't know anything different growing up. So it's interesting that, yeah, that we're trying to change that mindset with our kids, but giving them, hey, you got chores around the house, stuff like that. Here's an allowance. So
Yeah.
we did it a little bit different, but I don't know. It as I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, we worked really hard for our community, our family, and we were just expected to. That was a teaching.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a difference of
Yeah, I feel that
Hey.
same way.
so
It's like you just do whatever you have to do to help the family, and
Yeah.
that's just part of your contribution. And
and then you didn't have a say in how big the family was getting. Why do I have to work so hard? You guys keep just adding to this family. Then you'd get disciplined or argued because, wait a minute, quit having kids. I'm sick and tired of working so hard to
Yeah.
raise these little guys.
Yeah.
So,
well, and for those of you that have joined our book club, I feel like we might do one more book club on Tuesday. I kind of think we're going to, because I feel like this last one that we did The Sound of Gravel, and then we had the author Ruth Warrener on there, but we got cut off on the book club
Right.
part of it because the live with the author started. So we didn't get to give you our own opinions or experiences. So I feel like we're going to do another one on Tuesday where we can finish out the rest of the book and then give you like what we experienced and give you our 2 cents on it too.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do that Tuesday. I'll schedule that for those of you guys that want to come and take a look at that because that was such an earth-moving book for us. It has shaken up our personal lives immensely. I didn't even know if I was going to finish the book, but then I'm so grateful that I did, and I just feel like we're still, even to this day, healing through some of the stuff that came up for both of us during that book. A lot of worthiness issues, like core deep down to your soul worthiness issues. And even though we know, logically you understand things, but when you're raised in a cult, it can get really, it's not as black and white as everyone wants to see it. There's a lot of different layers of trauma and healing, and this brought up a lot of trauma for me, brought up a lot of trauma for you.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we haven't been very nice to each other. We've been taking it out on each other because we haven't really even known how to identify some of the emotions and feelings we've been going through. And so, yeah, I think we're going to do one more book club on that. So if you guys are wanting to come and join us for that one. And then I think we're going to we're looking into a couple different book options right now, but I think we're going to go a little lighter on the next book because this one, I'm so grateful that we did it when we did it because it is bringing up a ton of stuff for us to heal. And I feel like that's only going to help us be better at what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's been rough. It's been really hard. So yeah, I wanted to come
I
up.
almost would like to do something like one of those books that we've read that helped us change our thought patterns change those thought patterns we grew up with.
Right.
So I don't know which one it is. One of my favorite books is The Four Agreements, but yeah, something like that. Or
yeah, so we're currently healing through some pretty rough stuff right now, and it does help us to go through these. I would love a crossover with Mormon stories and reality TV, psychology experts, and why not Dr. Adam? We've done a couple things with Dr. Adam, and we did apply to be on Mormon stories. We haven't gotten an answer back on that one yet.
I think they're a bit too busy for us right now. So
yeah, I don't know if they're into polygamy stuff right now. Not that we even have to, it doesn't always have to be on polygamy, but yeah, let's see. What is the impact of that labor in your education while growing up? I ask because I see it sometimes hinders the person when they decide to leave. Do you feel like it hindered your education? I know for me it did. Absolutely. And I went to public school and I was pulled out of school numerous times to babysit and to take care of children.
Well, I don't know if I didn't go to a public school. I went to the private school that they had up there. And to be honest with you, most of our education was a packet system. And so you could really educate yourself and move through that packet system as quickly as possible to get those credits. And so, but school, because the school was based around what the work was required, I mean, there were harvest times that school was basically not in session because that we knew we had to go and bring in the hay off of the land or harvest the apples or the cherries, whatever we were doing. And then you could do those packets basically when you had downtime. And so I was able to finish the whole packet system that was supposed to be a 4-year process in 3 years. And then I helped younger people because I was homeschooled, my younger brothers and sisters. So basically the last year I became a teacher to help them in math because that was the best subject I knew.
I know.
So.
You're stupid good at math.
So, but our education was structured around our work schedules. So, but I wish I had, to be honest with you, I wish I'd been able to go to public school and advance and get higher education. Yeah. That was not expected when we were kids. Once we had finished that packet system, we were to go out and find a job to build a career in, to make money for ourselves and for the community and for families. So yeah, it was my younger siblings that got to go to higher education and actually build careers in higher education.
Yeah, I never thought I'd have a career of any type ever. And I was pulled out of school a lot to help babysit and take care of children. So it definitely affected my self-esteem too, because I felt so uneducated. I felt like I was not as quick and smart as some of the other kids. I've had to educate myself as an adult. Jody, thank you so much. We still can't put super chats up here, but I had to defend you. A follower said you talked more than the author about yourself, but I said it was about a back and forth with another survivor. I get criticized about that a lot, and I don't really care. Like, if people don't like it, go watch another channel. There's a million channels that will give you whatever format you're looking for. But thank you, Jody. I really appreciate that, because honestly, I feel like when we communicate back and forth with the author, it is validating for a lot of people too, because I mean, not that she needs our validation, but it's one of those things where she, yeah, we had some of the same experiences. Now, I appreciate the feedback whenever, and I've been trying to get better about not inserting a story every time because there is so many parallels, but sometimes it just is what it is, and so I appreciate that. I Yeah, Mormon Stories is so busy. But they have done plenty of polygamists, and I love John. He's such a gentle host, and he really gets the best out of everyone who's there. Yeah, I think eventually we will go on there and we will do something with them, but it might be a minute. I know they're overwhelmed right now, especially like with their lawsuit with the LDS Church. So
Oh, are they?
yeah, their LDS Church is suing them, trying to get the word Mormon taken out of their podcast. Yeah. So you can't use the word Mormon to describe the LDS Church, but they also don't want you using it to describe anything either. So yeah, so I do get criticized a lot for that. I get that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's totally fine. I have no problem with that. Feel free to go watch someone else's format. I guess that's how I feel about it anymore. And I do talk a lot. I do. I was never listened to as a child. And that is okay. That's what's coming up for me too with my dry mouth whole thing is it a trauma response from never being listened to. And so we're in some deep healing right now. Like I've even gotten to the point where I'm like, I can't even do this podcast anymore. Like, let's just call it quits. And so, which we're not going to do. Don't anyone worry about that. We're not going to, but it's been rough. And we haven't been very nice to each other the last few days. You haven't been I think you could have been nicer to me today.
I could have been nicer.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good one.
yeah, there's been some deep healing going on. And so, and then our cynical side comes out and our sarcastic side comes out. So then we start talking about, yeah, because then we're in some deep healing right now.
I made you a cup of coffee today.
I know, I do appreciate that coffee. You brought it in. I was like, oh, he does still love me. So, so yeah, it's this book definitely left us with a lot to chew on. Okay, let me try to get back up to some of these questions. Having guests is the purpose in validating each other. It really is. And that's one of the reasons I love talking to Sam and Melissa too, is I feel like there is so much back and forth. It's not just like, let's talk about just us. It's, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Especially being raised in two different, three, because Melissa was raised in the LDS Church. So 3 different experiences.
And the differences between the 3, and also the similarities of all 3 ways it is insane, some of the similarities.
Right.
So.
Right. But yeah, just know Corey and I are deep in the shit right now about this, and
Thanks, Bunny.
it'll be a good weekend for us. Our baby granddaughter turned 3 a few days ago. She turned 3 on
Growing up
3/3.
so quick.
I know, and so we have a birthday party for her this weekend, and then we are gonna wrap up the filming of the 27 Laws of Celestial Plural Marriage. And so that we can get those out to you guys next week. We're going to be finishing up that this weekend, and we're just going to spend some time together so that we can be nicer to each other, huh? I think you should be nicer to me. So I'll try to be nicer to you. So, John from Mormon Stories is going to be at the Holding Out Help Gala next week, Emily. Is that right? I just saw that. Who are you saying? Which John is going to be there?
Stop defending yourself, she said.
Don't tell me who's going to be there, because I'm going to get nervous. I've heard Christine Brown is supposed to be there too. I'm like, I already have to get up and talk in front of these people. Well, I mean, I guess I don't really worry about that too much, but is law number 1, don't marry a Robin? It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bunny. She says it's a conversation, not a lecture. I agree.
Yeah, go up there. So,
Where?
go up there. Right there.
Oh, Bunny. Oh, thank you, Bunny, for that. She says, stop defending yourself. We love you. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. Well, we're so new at this too. If that was our very first ever have somebody come on to our channel, we send them a link and they come on. And so that's why I feel like we should do one more book club, because I feel like we just cut it off. We didn't even realize. All of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, we just ended our live. We didn't even realize that we had done that. So I feel like that's why it feels a little incomplete to me. So that's why I think we'll do another one on Tuesday. I'm going to schedule that right after this live. So if you decide you want to come on Tuesday to kind of go over just the final recap and just wrapping up the book. So, let's see. Who's trying to be anonymous? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to get to. Oh, Katie said, the lack of education most definitely affected the younger kids, especially when the parents went back to work and we weren't allowed to seek help from the older siblings because they were bad influences. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like Ruth is like Ruth from our book. I feel like she is like a kindred spirit. I absolutely just loved her. I resonated with her so much. Did Emily answer my question? Did you answer my question, Em, that's going to be John from Mormon Stories that's going to be there? Not that I want to make myself nervous, but I'm excited. I'm excited to do the emceeing because it is a subject that I'm very well versed on, so I feel very confident on the subject matter. It's just standing in front of 300 or 400 people is going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little bit intimidating, I won't lie. So.
Can you catch me up over here?
Where are you at? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
We each have a screen pulled
Yep.
up because we're both blind. And so we each have a screen pulled up so that we can get to your guys' questions. And thank you. I feel like I do have important things to say, and I am trying to be more conscious about not cutting off our guests, not cutting off Corey. I am trying to be a lot more conscious of that. And I'm the oldest, and I'm bossy, and I always have been, and it's something that I'm working on. Oh, somebody says, Mel, I love how open and humorous you are. You make people feel seen. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do try. I really do try on that. So thank you. Oh, okay. Happy. It's just beaming sweet smiles pointed away from each other as you read different stuff. Oh, yeah, we're trying to, lots of good people are coming. Emily says, you better tell me. You better, don't be holding that. Corey looks very content, Mel. It's funny because you would never guess yesterday we were like this with each other, huh? Mm. He's like, yeah, it got a little rough yesterday. We were both deep in the, a lot of times when you're going through healing, they call it shadow work, or they call it, the ugly dark side of yourselves. I think we've both been pretty deep in that for the last 3 weeks. And so I feel like we kind of take it out on each other sometimes. We try not to, but I feel like we hit a boiling point where then boom, we collide. I feel like that's what we've been doing for the last couple of days. And so it's been helpful to, we did an interview last night with somebody with Growing Up in Polygamy. We did an interview that'll be coming out on their channel here soon. And I feel like that softened us both a little bit towards each other. So, because I feel like it is important to have those moments so that you're not stifling your feelings and your emotions, but then it is important to apologize. And
yep.
So I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry you were so mean to me yesterday.
Sorry I wasn't nicer to you.
So yeah. Emily says, I appreciate you being the adult in my life. Mel, Sam and Melissa will be at the Holding Out Help Gala. Yeah, they will. Yeah, we're super excited to see them. We just adore them. Are we going on Mormon Stories? We don't know yet. We did apply for it. We sent in a video and we did apply for it, but I know that they're overwhelmed right now with a lot of people because of the current status with LDS Church. So yeah, it is definitely, it might be coming up sooner than later. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Large family question. Okay. How are skills like cooking taught to children in large families, individually or in groups? Is your cooking now based on skills learned then or picked up later? I really struggle in this area because I do not know how to cook for people less than 25. And when I feel so bad because I make stupid amount of food every time. And now we're almost empty nesters pretty much. We have a niece and a nephew that live with us, and then our son. So we do have three younger people in the house, but they all go do their own thing. And so Corey's like, who are you feeding, an army? And I'm like, me and you. And then of course I don't eat as much anymore, but yeah. As a young child, more often than not, my mom would teach us stuff. My sister and I were 17 months apart. We would all stand around while she taught us stuff, or my grandma. I feel like it was in group therapy sessions, or we needed group therapy after we were doing but I would say it was more in larger groups, and nobody got one-on-one time when you're that young, or not large of a family. Nobody got the one-on-one time, but you guys all learned how to cook.
We did, yeah. But we learned how to honestly cook in huge amounts. And so we feel like, well, we're breaking this down into quarters or tinier, and we're still cooking we did a lot of casseroles growing up. So a lot of stuff I know is casseroles or different things like that. But yet we break it down in half and then half again. We're still cooking for way too many people.
I know.
So
we have a lot of freezer
it's hard
foods.
to cook for one or two people.
It is. So yeah, as a small child, I feel like that's how we were taught, is in big groups. Oh, your little sister says that too. We were usually in large groups cooking together in our family. Each mother had a cook night and a dish night.
Yep. Or cook week.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of how we did it too. Let's see.
And my mom had 6 boys and then the little girl. And so the young girl. And so we, as her boys, had to learn when she did cook week, get in and help her and do all of that stuff. So
yeah,
I did learn how to cook when I was younger. So
right. Yeah.
Which I appreciated when I lived on my own. So all of my brothers are very good cooks in specific areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've each honed a different meal that they're really good at. So
yeah. Yeah. So Corey cooks just as much and often as I wanted to.
My brother cooks some amazing spaghetti. You cook amazing spaghetti. I didn't care for the spaghetti growing up, but you do.
You publicly made that announcement.
I've never really cared for spaghetti, but you guys both make spaghetti that is amazing. So kind of got an adult taste for it now. So
Bunny says, learning how to argue is very important. And I agree. I feel like that is one thing that I feel like we try to do is we don't take cheap shots at each other. And if we do, I feel like we catch it. I'm sorry, that was a totally cheap shot. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that. Or like I'll say something out loud and then and it sounds totally different from when I say it out loud versus what it felt like in my head. And so I feel like we try really diligently
to change
to do that. Yeah. So I definitely feel like we don't want to hurt each other when we're arguing. We just want to be seen and heard when we're talking. And I don't know that we'd really call it argue. Yesterday we argued. A lot of times we just have disagreements. Yesterday we argued.
I feel like probably because that spaghetti tended to be a staple kind of in our family. We got it at least once a week. And so it was one of those things where, we're going to have spaghetti night again. So when other good food came out, it was like, that was a treat. But
yeah. So Mormon Stories is, the LDS Church is suing Mormon Stories podcast for using the word Mormon in their label.
In their name.
And so to me, it doesn't make any. The Mormon Church doesn't want to be identified as Mormons anymore, but they don't want anyone else using the word either. So I don't know, did they get a trademark on the word? I don't know. So, but yeah, and then of course, yeah, he just did that big interview with David Archuleta. And
I think,
go ahead.
no, I think what they're trying to do, I mean, we don't want anybody calling us that, but we want to control if anybody uses that in their name, what they say type
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
can't talk negative about us.
Right.
So if you're using that name, so
Yeah, so I think that's where it's coming down. And I've had a lot of you guys email me about the Khloe Kardashian and Ashley interview. And yes, I did know her parents. Yes, I have connected with her, and we're not going to pursue that for right now, but maybe later on we will to do an interview with her. But that was a great interview if you guys want to check it out. Yeah. She did, I just talked to you about it. She did an interview with Khloe Kardashian, and she was a girl from the AUB. So, yeah. Let's see. Let me get, yeah, a lot of mac and cheese for dinner. We couldn't
Yeah, we
afford
didn't.
mac and cheese.
we didn't either.
It was spaghetti. That's
Yeah.
it, really. Yeah, and Jody says I emotionally eat my feelings. I feel like sometimes I do too. Especially for me though, we grew up with such scarce amounts of food that I didn't have the option to eat my feelings. There just wasn't anything to eat, and so I think as an adult, it's kind of sometimes I eat when I feel like scared or empty, because that was such a familiar feeling growing up, that sometimes I'll eat just to try to fill some of that up, which is why I think I got so heavy there for a while, is because of that. So, and I know a lot of people with religious trauma do that, because you feel empty and religious trauma will leave people feeling empty quite often. And so I know for that reason I did eat a lot that way. What are you saying?
It's not just the name. He's using the branding, the colors, and symbol of the church's website that they do have trademarked. Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
So
So yeah. See, we haven't dove
Yeah,
into
I
into that lawsuit really at all. Let's see. So somebody says, I missed it. What's up with Khloe Kardashian? So she was on TikTok and found a previous AUB member, and she reached out to her and just recently did an interview with her. And so I've been sent several different emails, several different DMs asking us to connect with this girl too. And I think talking about polygamy can get really heavy, especially if you haven't deconstructed completely. And even if you have, it still can get really dark. It can get really heavy. I mean, look, we're going through it right now. And based on this, this book brought up a lot of stuff for both of us.
yeah. Well, it just brings up those sometimes to deal with some things that we grew up with. You could kind of bury them deep with humor over them and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then when the book comes up, and I don't know. A lot of times we've covered those up with humor, and so that it doesn't hurt as much. And then all of a sudden they come back up when you're seeing somebody else go through it, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And so then you kind of get frustrated with that. I felt like with me that so many people overlook and justified what predators were doing within all of the communities, and that frustrated me, and yet we all kind of just joked about it and didn't say anything about it. So
Right.
that's why I now want to kind of speak out about it. Does happen, and we should be listening to those young people instead of joking about it.
Yeah.
So,
And there's some real severe trauma that goes on. I feel like we've had kind of a way of being able to talk about things a little bit, maybe take some of that edging, cutting
Yeah.
out of it. So, but not everyone can do that, and it's hard. It is hard to talk about things when they're real and you really experience that. It can bring up a lot, and
Yeah.
especially when you're focused on healing and focused on raising small children. That is one thing that I don't know if I could have started this podcast if we still had small children that we were raising, because of the emotional ups and downs that we've gone through doing this. And so I'm grateful that we are, past the child rearing ages, so that we can talk about these things. And then when grandchildren come over, we can set that aside, because some of these things are really dark and they're really hard. I mean, for those of you that have read any of the survivors' stories that have come out of polygamy, how dark it can get. And unfortunately, with The Sound of Gravel, I resonated a lot with a lot of the stuff that she said. So, I watched Daughters of a Cult. It was amazing. Thank you for your suggestion. I would love video reactions to each episode if you are all interested in that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we are actually doing an interview with Celia soon. And so we're going to be having that interview come up where we're actually talking to her. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that one. That one, I put it in your schedule. You
Okay,
probably didn't know yet, but I scheduled that yesterday when I was driving. Yeah, it really does. Let's see. Polygamy talk gets hard because it can trigger for some that style of parent where they identify totally depends on them being right. The parent can build an identity on a belief that they are good. Yeah, we see that a lot. Yeah. What you're going to say?
Yeah. That I don't know, they build up an identity that they're righteous, they're the leader, we're supposed to listen to them, but then when their human flaws come out, I don't know how to explain it, but then we as kids come out and say, well, wait a minute, this is absolutely wrong. And
Right.
yeah, and then you get judged as disobedient or
Difficult.
Yeah. So,
And I think that's one of the reasons too. When I knew when I became a mother that I had to go to parenting classes,
Yeah.
because I knew I needed something different. And I was
Right.
17. I didn't know. I mean, I did the best I could parenting my siblings, but I knew that I needed something more than that. And so because I felt so unseen and so unheard growing up, that is one of the areas that I focus on. And I know that I am not very good at it a lot of times, but it is something where I do a lot of what's called anchoring, where you say something about I love you. You are actually really nice to me today. Although that's a little bit condescending the way that I said that, but thank you for being nice to me today. And then you touch someone and it anchors in that.
those feelings.
Yeah, those feelings and those emotions. So that is something that I've tried to do purposely as a mother because I felt so unseen and heard as a child. But yeah, I feel like, again, our traumas are not our fault, but our healing is our responsibility.
Yeah.
And especially when you're coming through situations like this that can get so heavy and so dark. Oh, wait.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I've worked over the years to create a relationship with my parents that I grew up with, those that had impact, because there's some impact that I felt like was negative, taught me what not to do, and then there was other impact that I'm like, oh, that felt good, being treated like that, and that's how I want to parent my children, and so it gave me the two different outlooks. So even though I grew up in a climate that felt like I was walking on eggshells, there were moments in that climate where I was like, oh, okay, this feels great. So
Right.
there's moment of connection and love, and then the exact opposite. So
Yep. Yeah. And there
so
was
I appreciated both learning lessons. So
Parents need humility too, to be able to apologize for your child when you don't model what you want them to do.
Yeah.
And I agree with this. This is one thing that is really, this was really hard for me growing up. I felt like there was no room for error. It was like, you do this, 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 and this. You live by these rules. And so my parents didn't ever make mistakes because they were following God's law. They were doing the best that they could. If they did make a mistake, there was never a genuine apology. It didn't feel like it felt like it came with a guilt trip. Well, sorry, I failed you again. And so to me, it was like, the adults in my life when I was a child it didn't seem like they believed that they made a mistake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it wasn't, how could it be a mistake? Because they were told that this was the proper way to discipline a child or to do something from somebody that they felt was in a leadership position or speaking to God themselves. So we were just following what we were being taught to do. Well, how come you changed it with the next group of kids? Because it kind of messed you up. So where was the mistake? Well, there really wasn't a mistake. It's just we tried it a different way because another prophet came into being or another teacher came in and he says, hey, let's try it this way. So we're just trying everything out. So
And that's one of the hard things. I just did not have very many adults in my life that could admit when they made a mistake. Even when I made my first couple of videos and I talked about my dad, beating us as children, my dad called me the next day after I posted that. And he was like, I didn't do that. That never happened. You're lying about that. And I'm like, no, I'm not, Dad. Yeah. And he couldn't even, I feel like that was my experience, is that these parents didn't ever put themselves, not just parents, but the adults didn't put themselves in the seat of the child. They had no empathy for that, because children, again, especially in the AUB, in my experience, are property. So you don't get to feel bad about something. And if you do, then you better go fix the feeling that you got.
Yeah. And I was lucky because I did have adults in my childhood as I grew up that did go to therapy themselves, that went and learned, and that actually genuinely apologized and said, no, that we are so sorry that this happened, blah, blah, blah. So I was lucky, I feel like. But a lot of those adults that did that, they were going through therapy. My father went through therapy through the VA and kind of learned a different way to apologize.
But do you think your dad would have done therapy if he didn't have the VA? Because we're taught not to go to outside sources, outside influences. You go get a blessing, you read your scriptures, you get on your knees and pray. Like, there's other ways to handle it where you're not going to outside sources that could convince you that you were in a cult or could convince you that you needed to get out of there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he would have if he hadn't. I think he was encouraged not only by people within the VA, but actually encouraged by some of my mothers to go and take advantage of that healing. So,
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't see a lot of admission or apologies as a child. Yeah. And not just by my parents, by most of the adults in my life, I did not experience that. And so it's one thing as a parent, I feel like I've tried to do. Where I have failed, or where I've not failed, but I've fallen short, is I don't always acknowledge the good things. I feel like I'm hyper vigilant on the rough spots that I have as a parent with my child, but I don't always acknowledge the good things. And so I've been working on, that's one of my goals I'm working on this year. So just had a long conversation with my oldest the other day of just, thank you so much. He loves to poke at me and he loves to debate, but he likes to healthy debate. And so he brought a subject to me a couple of months ago and was poking at me because he knew that I would be like, what are you talking about? And so I've been chewing on that for a few months. And finally, the other day I called him and just said, thank you for bringing this to me. I love that your heart you have such a humanitarian heart and that you care so deeply about people. And it really has given me a lot to think about the last couple of months, and I could soften my viewpoint on this. And so I appreciate that you were tempered enough with me to come and have that conversation. So I feel like every time I do something like that is scary because it's so out, because especially as an adult child, it's different when they're smaller and you can have these types of conversations with them. But when they're an adult and now they have formed an opinion about you and now you're being judged by them, it's different to have those types of conversations. So, yeah. What were you going to say?
Just interesting talking about my parents, some of my parents. It's like, well, this charismatic leader said that this was the right thing to do. And I'm like, are you saying he's wrong? Well, actually I am. How could you do that? And then it's kind of funny because one of the sayings that we got growing up is if your friends told you to go jump off a cliff, would you do that? And I sarcastically would come back, well, if your leadership told you to
throw your children in a pit,
do this to your
that?
children, would you do that without even questioning? So yes.
So
no,
that's where I
obviously
think that we've left a little bit of a gap for viewers that are watching is that a lot of times the parents don't take responsibility for what they did because a leader told them to do it.
Yeah.
And so I was chastising Corey's mom one day. I'm like, why would you let them do this to your kid? And she was like, well, the leadership told us to do it. That's what we were told to do. And so there's no personal accountability especially when you're in a high demand religion. It's blame the leader because you were just following directions, even though that inner person, we are all blessed with an inner guidance and a natural knowing. And when something comes up that feels wrong and we don't listen to that, then we compromise our decision. And we've said this on our channel a ton, that a lot of these women find themselves somewhere they don't even recognize because they compromised a decision and then they compromised a decision. And all of a sudden they wake up to a life that they're like, how did I get into this miserable life with 50 children and a husband with 10 wives? And I'm absolutely miserable. How did I get there? And it's because they compromised and they compromised and they compromised. Yep. And so I think that happens a lot in high demand religions. But again, that's why I didn't experience a lot of apologies or a lot of sincere apologies from adults in my life because they were just doing what the leadership told them to do, even though it was destructive, even though it damaged their children, even though there was some severe PTSD that was caused and trauma that was caused by it. Don't blame it on me, blame it on the leadership. I was just following orders, sir. And so, now that we went on that little rant, let's go and see if we, Jody says, I didn't want kids due to trauma. Yeah, Corey didn't think he was ever going to have kids.
Yeah.
So,
no.
Yep. For that reason, makes me crazy when adults want to hide. Thank you, Anna, for this comment. It says, makes me crazy when adults want to hide behind, it's what I was told to do. We do not consistently tell kids. And if they told you to jump off, do we not consistently tell kids, if they told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Healing requires accountability.
Yep.
And I think that's where some of the trauma that's coming from this book that we were just reading is coming up for me, because I felt like if I ever said anything, I just got slapped back with a guilt trip. And so I've always had to keep my voice down to not offend the adults, and because they were just doing what I hate the guilt trip apologies. They're exhausting. Sugar says, I'm thinking that maybe the parenting style was generational, not just AUB. Absolutely. I think so too.
I agree with that.
We're becoming a lot more emotionally conscious as a society in whole. I agree. When I was growing up, kids got smacked if they were naughty. I had friends who got their father's belt. Yeah. Corey's like, yes, we did. Thank you, Jody, for that super chat. She says, I think the most traumatic thing is being mistreated by a parent. For me, I had expectations of being loved and respected. My abuser was a mother. It's heartbreaking not having a safe place to grow up.
Yep.
Yeah. And then even as an adult, when you voice some of your traumas and then you still get, I think that's what's so hard. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why that's a goal for me this year, is validating my adult children. and speaking with it to them and showing them appreciations when they have given me something to consider and, you know, reconsider. Like, I am so sorry that I did that, or I am so sorry that you had that experience. That wasn't my intent, but I could, you know, and then validating them. So, yeah.
Well, and I was very lucky too because I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to mess up, have my own children and mess them up accidentally, and I felt like that my role models weren't the best. But as I started to date you and meet your youngest, my son Buddha, he was so stinking loving to me and
Yeah.
so kind. And I was like, man, I love this little guy. So I wanted to be such a good friend with him. And I'm like, and I'm not going to be that evil stepfather. And so I don't know. I think that kid softened my heart so much when you were like, okay, should we have one of our own? I'm like, all right, I'll look into that option. And so I was lucky. Our three older ones were very accepting to me over time, but he was just kind of instantly, this guy's pretty cool and I like him. And
But
so,
aren't you so glad we
Yeah,
we
I am.
had our first child together, and she was a girl, and I promise you that child knows that she is the most loved human on this planet. Like, I don't think that she even slightly doubts that. She knows that she is so loved, and everyone just adores her. And so you wouldn't have had that opportunity to love
Yeah.
a human as much as you love her
Yep.
if we hadn't have. So, not to say that people, you know, if you feel the necessity not to have children because of that, I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with that. I'm just glad in our situation that we didn't, because this child is the most loved human I know.
Yeah, I just changed so many of what I felt like were core. Growing up in this society, I had these core beliefs that I was never going to date somebody who came from the background.
The AUB.
Yeah, I was never going to date
It's a
somebody.
huge red flag for people.
Yeah, I was never going to date anybody that already had kids. I was never going to date so I wasn't going to have kids of my own. I had all of these, I feel like, core beliefs, and then over time I have looked at it, readjusted. So I really appreciate that I've been able to always kind of question my core beliefs. Where did I get that from?
Is
Why
that
am I
true?
thinking, is that true? So I'm always feel like I'm in the question of what
I
I'm
feel
going
like
to
that's
do.
one of the biggest things, especially when you come out of a high controlled religion. You don't know what's true and what's not true.
Yeah.
Even your own internal voice, you don't know if it's true or if it's not true. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we have learned is to ask ourselves, is that true? When some internal dialogue happens and it's like, wait, is that true? Or am I reacting emotionally and not seeing things for what they actually are? You know, especially like the last couple of days where we've been going at each other, and I'll make an accusatory statement, and then in my mind I'll think, but is that really true? Does he really not love me? Does he really not pay attention to me? Does he really not? And so then I have to go in there and ask myself that internal dialogue, like, is that really true? And sometimes I'm like, yes, that mother effer, he's not paying attention to me. I need more attention. And sometimes I'm like, okay, no, that accusation is not exactly true. That's a wound that's coming up inside of me. So again, this is why we always say start your healing work so that you can start paying attention to these types of things. We've had a lot of questions of how do you start your healing work? And again, we've covered this a couple times, but find something that triggers you and go from there. Hey, this is a trigger for me. This hurts when I hear this. This stings when this comes up for me. Why? And then start unraveling and packing it from there. Oh, look at you. My sister says, I don't know. You have always been the best. Oh, maybe she meant to say Corey. You've always been the best dad and stepdad. You set the bar so high. I don't think any father in our family can reach it, even with their own children. I appreciate the way you have parented. And I would
thanks.
agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. Sometimes he frustrates me, but he's a great dad. So,
I'm not a stepdad, so I'm a dad.
yeah.
Evil stepfather.
Yeah, we actually
So,
took out the step. We
yeah,
don't
I
really ever use step.
No.
We never refer to our children as step siblings. We never refer to you as, although our kids, my son has him in his phone as evil stepdad and me as the spawn
Point.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
That was genius.
Really, son? So, yeah. Okay, Corey, it is so wonderful and deeply heartwarming to hear how you really changed your mind about children. The wonderful love of Mel and her loving children truly changed your heart.
Yep.
Yeah, it
really
did. It really did. And he was a 29-year-old. He was in the 29-year-old meat suit, but his mentality was 12. And it was really, my kids just were like, this guy's great.
Had a
So-
sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And again,
I'd removed the religious stick out of my ass years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah,
Pointed out your.
I had a pretty big stick. Yeah.
All of
And-
a sudden made you funny and relatable.
I've always been funny.
You were funny, but
Yeah. But I definitely see why. Here's the thing. When you get men like Corey, they threaten the system in a high controlled religion. And that's why I believe that he was excommunicated and kicked out, because he threatened so many of the other men who don't show up like that.
yeah,
And you can't have in my mind, in my experience, you cannot have kind-hearted men in these situations. Some of them can be at times, but in my experience, they're not that way by nature all the time. So,
a lot of times it's the mentality. I felt like that we grew up in a mentality that you didn't necessarily have to. You were just going to have as many children as possible, and hope that one or two of them came out righteous, and the others were learning experiences, and that was sad to me. I mean, you just don't have kids to, I don't know, hope that one of them follows in your footsteps.
and I've literally heard my dad say, well, we messed up on that first batch of kids. Guess we'll have to start with the next batch. It's like they're a lost cause. Throw them aside. And this is why you have so many children. Again, this is a religion that the children are the collateral damage. And if it's all about families and keeping families together and creating eternal families, why are so many children discarded in this experience?
And so when you have a mentality of, wait a minute, I love them all. I want to get to know all of them.
Right.
And maybe I'll have less than 39 just so I can have a more one-on-one connection with
Right.
children.
Right.
It's a different mindset. So
Marie says, I remember my dad telling stories of his dad slapping him for everything. My dad was the gentlest, sweetest man you could know. It's so sad for him growing up. And that was my experience growing up with my father. He would, especially the boys, he was so aggressive towards my brothers and for stupid stuff. It's like he used it for entertainment. And that's what was so disgusting and sad for me, is that he used bullying his boys as entertainment. And if I told some of the stories, people would gasp, because in fact, my younger brother that I kind of we claim his children as our grandchildren. My mom had to move him out of the home at 14 years old because my dad was abusing him so severely. And so she had to move him in. My other brother, the one that my dad originally abused, ended up taking custody of him until he got old enough, and then he moved in with me. Because my dad did it, I felt like he just did it for humor. He just did it just because I feel like picking on somebody today, so you're it. And there was no rhyme or reason half of the time. And he loved to hang the boys by their underwear on the door stoppers. And to the point where there was physical wounds that were involved with these boys. And then they would be crying and they'd be upset. And my dad would just say, oh, well, when they apologize for not eating their food, then they can get down. And he would literally just hang them there. It was so brutal. And so I felt like my father was very much that same way with a lot of his children, a good chunk of his children, unfortunately. So, are you catch anything?
No.
Corey's a chick magnet. I agree. Well, I agree. I thought he was amazing, but yeah.
Maybe now, my older age, Cody was a chick magnet. He had lightning bolts bringing him in. So he had so much
charisma
and energy going off. Poor
Yeah.
chicks were getting hit by lightning bolts. So
Yeah. Did I link the Holding Out Hope feature that you were on, Mel? I actually have it on a Facebook page. That link, I don't know if I don't know if it's on YouTube. It's Holding Out Help, and the theme for this year is Ignite Hope. And so we always link their webpage at the top of all of our show notes, so you can go visit there, and then you'll see all of the different breakdowns of what's happening there. So yeah, there's that. So there is an organization here in Utah called Holding Out Hope. That was started by the by the women who did Escaping Polygamy. So she helped start up that's from my understanding. And they have an organization called Holding Out Hope. But the one that we work with more one-on-one is Holding Out Help. And again, the gala is called Igniting Hope. So yeah, and it might be I think it is on Instagram. They posted it on Instagram and then I reposted it.
Mel, is your dad still having kids?
Is my dad still having children?
Well, his youngest wife is older than you, or older than his oldest child.
No, he's not still having children.
But he's claiming them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
there you
youngest
go.
is 25. So I'm my mother's oldest at 51. She is my mother's youngest at 25. So she's 26 years younger than me. And she's the baby. And she's amazing. So yeah, she's such an amazing human. We adore him. Did your dad's parents abuse him? Yes, my dad was severely abused growing up. And his father had children into his 70s. I think he was 75 when he had his last child. So my dad being the oldest at 73 right now, my dad's 73. And the youngest, I want to say, is like 25. I think she's 25, maybe 24, is my grandfather's youngest child. So yeah, my grandfather had babies well into his 70s, and then he passed and left that woman with 4 small children when he passed.
Yeah.
So
My father left home at 17, lied about his age, and joined the military. And
Really?
so, yeah.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lied about his age, said he was 18, and joined the military, I think at 17 or 17 and a half. So,
Yeah.
just like you, he wasn't married at 17, but he had joined the military and started his career in the military.
Yeah.
Served in it for 20 years, got out of the military with his first wife, joined the Mormon Church, asked many more questions, moved out here to Utah, met up with Rulon, and then joined the AUB and started got a second wife, my mom, and started from there.
Started his family from
whole
there.
family from there, yeah.
Right.
So yes, see, he left because I think in his story that he was telling us, his mother left home when he was the youngest of the family, and so his mother kind of left home when he was younger, and so he was raised by a strong German dad that on his own.
Yeah.
So he felt like at 17 he just needed to get away from home and get out on his own. So
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is it is generational. We see a collective consciousness now that is turning more to emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Back then the collective consciousness was survival more than anything else. but we're seeing a lot more of the collective consciousness move towards emotional intelligence along with emotional validation and recognition.
Yeah.
And we're recognizing people's traumas a lot more than we ever have in history, I feel like.
So he was basically, if you could, he was basically raised or taught organization and really, I would say, parenting skills from the U.S. military.
Yeah.
And so he was very military organized. Yes, sir. No, sir. So, and later on in life, he kind of brought more emotion into,
Right.
which was great. So
Right.
he learned from some of the mistakes he made with my older brothers and sisters, with all of us, and became more loving and caring at the end of his life. So
Yeah. So
instead of military.
again, that's why we say you don't have to necessarily be raised in a cult or a high demand religion.
Yeah.
If you're a human, you have trauma. You will experience some level of trauma. And again, it's not your fault that it happened, but it is your responsibility to heal it so that you don't pass that on to other, someone asked Emily if that was validation to hear us talk about stuff. And she says, yes, it actually helps me a lot when Melanie talks about what really happened to us. And I think that's what's so hard about this book that we just got done reading is because, and Ruth and I talked about that you almost have to temper some of the stories because if you told what actually happened, it's too dark. People don't want to hear that. People will turn away from it because it's too much.
Yeah.
And we do too. That's why we add some humor to it, because if we really sat down and looked at it, and which is what this book has given me an opportunity to do, is really sit down and hear someone else have the same internal thoughts that I had growing up. It's really hard. And it can get really dark.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I personally don't understand moving my child out so that my husband can't abuse him anymore. I would move my ass out, and all my children out. And so there is some of that disconnect for me. I actually wouldn't do that. I just kick the guy.
Yeah,
I just kick that guy right out of my house. I'd be like,
go.
get the hell out. And so, yeah, I have no tolerance for it.
Yeah. And what I appreciated about the book, I did appreciate, it was dark at times, but the whole circle of it, what changed her from absolutely being abused, but then turning around and becoming a mother bear, a protective, one of the biggest protectors of her siblings and her family, and kind of, yes, she was rebellious based on their religion. Yes, she did all these things, but she stood out and stood for what she felt was truth, which her family, should be proud of, that she then turned into this beautiful version of herself as a mother bear, a protector.
That's why I'm so glad I finished
up.
the book, because I
Yeah.
almost didn't, but I felt like it ended with such a level of hope. So I'm so grateful that I finished it. Thank you, Catherine Perry, for that super chat. She says, it's crazy making how parents exacerbate the abuse by gaslighting and denying reality. My mother in denial about what was happening with my father, to my father denying we spent all of our free time caring for my brother. I think that's the hardest part for me too, is that one of the reasons I started my channel is because I felt like other creators were taking survivors' experiences and they were making them salacious clickbait headlines. And I wanted a place where we could be honest about our experiences. And I still have felt like I haven't been fully honest about it because, again, I've tempered it so that it's not so overwhelming for people to hear. And so to be accused of exaggerating my experiences growing up feels stabbing to me. It hurts. It feels very, it is really, it's hard to experience that. And it makes me feel invalidated. And I feel like a lot of parents do that. And I feel like when I'm asking my children hey, tell me some of your memories growing up, I try very diligently to not say, that's not true. I try to say, hey, is that really how you experienced it? Tell me a little bit more so that I can understand how you experienced it through your 4-year-old eyes or through your 6-year-old eyes. Because again, a 4-year-old, 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, we have a different comprehension level than an adult does. And so for us going through a traumatic experience, we might have a different comprehension level. What feels really big and really scary to us at 5 years, 6 years old, to an adult might seem like nothing. And so it feels very invalidating when a parent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever reaches out to us and says, you're over exaggerating that experience. That's not what happened. Well, it is based on my recollection and my experience. That is what happened. So yeah, I think that it's one of those things where I've tried really diligently not to do that to my children. Have I been perfectly successful at it? No, for sure not.
No.
But I've really been conscious of it because I want my children's experiences, especially when you're young and you don't know what some of these emotions are. And even with our grandchildren, like the two little girls, they will get overwhelmed and scream and cry about anything. And instead of saying, oh, stop that, you're not that hurt, I'll say, wow, that's a pretty big feeling you're having right now, huh? What is it that you're feeling right now? And then she'll cry and cry and cry. And she's like, yeah, it is a big feeling, Grandma. And I'm like, I know. How does that feel? Does that feel sad to you? And I try not to give her ideas of what the feeling feels like. I want her to express it to me, but I want to validate that she's got some big feelings right now. So yeah, to invalidate that feels pretty shitty. So healing the mother wound was even more difficult in some ways. I agree. I think the mother wound has always, and when right when I think that I have some healed, a new opportunity pops up and allows me to heal a little bit more. It's awesome. I love it. Yeah. What are you saying?
Well, it's interesting because I only had one father. And so healing or talking with that one father, and yet I had 9 mothers. So there's different appreciations, wounds, what have you. There are so many ways that I appreciated that each mother showed up in some sort of power and love, and each mother could have showed up in different angles. And so I've had conversations with most of my mothers, especially those living, to heal some of the wounds because I appreciate so much of what they taught me in one area versus what I learned in another. So,
Right. So, and definitely to invalidate someone's experience by saying that's not true, that didn't happen, you're exaggerating, is unfortunate when we do that to each other. Now, I get making up stories. I get lying about things just to sound more grandiose. I get that. But what are you saying?
Nothing. That would be probably, we add humor to our stories to exaggerate them and put the humor in there that the religious dogma to make ours seem, but at the time those experiences were pretty traumatic and scary.
When you're little and some huge man comes at you and covers your mouth till you pass out. I mean, when my dad did that to me, I was 2 years old. He seemed like a monster to me at that time. He was a monster to me at that time, and he literally made me pass out and would hold my mouth until I passed out from exhaustion or couldn't breathe anymore just to get me to stop screaming. That feels like a monster to me. So if I relate that story, because that's what my 2-year-old brain remembers, there's nothing invalidate. Like, how can you invalidate someone's experience like that? Thank you for this. The Grief of It All podcast. Sometimes I still hear my mom's voice and I'm a grown woman already. Yeah, I feel like we all do. And the Grief of It All podcast is actually just starting her new podcast here on YouTube. So if you guys want to go give her a follow, she has just started that, I believe a couple weeks ago. And I have an email from you. I'm sorry, I'm going to get back to that. This book has just been a lot for us lately. So, but yeah, she just started that one. And I agree with this one. Thank you, Marie. You are the keeper of your own experiences, though. People can judge, but you're the one who knows. And I agree. I absolutely agree with that. It's definitely, you're going to relate the story of how you remember it. And maybe you don't have all your facts correct, but as a small child, that's what you saw, that's what you remember. And so some of those traumas can get pretty big. So, yeah, what are you
Yeah.
saying? You're smiling and you're laughing. So whenever you do that, I'm always like,
No, you just your story of that, my story of that. This is where we put humor in ours. That what was his name, Joseph, and then the many color
the coat of many colors.
coat of many colors was put into a pit by his brothers to test him and then sold into Egypt. And we were just lucky we didn't get sold into Egypt, but he was a teenager, I guess. So let's try it for younger kids, see if that works. So we were just being tested to see if we were going to be a prophet later on or something like that. So yeah, use their own dogma or teachings,
Yeah.
kind of. Oh, you guys were just testing us to make sure we weren't prophets, or
That we weren't going to,
yeah,
that's funny. I'm trying to see,
putting
go
us through
back
the
and,
same trials and tribulations as the prophets. It didn't turn out very good.
right. I agree with this one. Humor is my coping mechanism. It is for us too. Let's see. Does anybody have any other questions they want us to answer? Oh, I love this one. I agree with you. Oh, I forgot that I didn't know any better. In the victim's voice, taking on their emotions when you shouldn't take on their emotions. Practice self-differentiate. And I agree with you. I feel like too often when we are shamed or we're guilted, we tend to take on other. And that's another thing. That's why we ask ourselves, if this true? Is this real? Am I projecting? Yeah, I think yesterday we were both like, you're projecting. No, you're projecting. No, you're projecting. I'm like, oh my gosh, now you're just repeating what I just said. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm over exaggerating our conversation yesterday. Let's see. And mom guilt is real. I get it. I have a ton of it. I absolutely, but to invalidate a child's experience, which I have felt like has happened to me the majority of my life, is hard. What were you going to say? Oh, let's see. And I agree. I feel like most people who grew up in an abusive, dysfunctional family never will be 100% healed. Just keep working on ourselves. I agree with that. I feel like we're onions. We have layers. Every time I say that, I always hear Donkey's voice from Shrek.
or Shrek's voice.
Is it Shrek that says
Yeah,
it? Oh,
yeah.
I was thinking it was Donkey. Oh, because we're definitely all layers. And it does something that somebody can say the same thing in two different two different ways, and you'll hear it one way and it won't affect you, but then you'll hear it another way and all of a sudden it triggers something in us. And then you're like, okay, well, there's a wound. What if one of your sons decided they want to practice? That will never happen because we have,
Knock on wood, knock on
no,
wood.
it will never happen because of the way that we raised our children. To be very self-aware, to be very what's the word
To
I
think
want?
for themselves too, not to
And to be in a religion like,
question,
yeah,
to constantly be in question, and to realize that I feel like that we've raised our kids to know that they are brilliant human beings, and that they are the ones that know what's best for themselves, and to listen to those themselves.
Their natural
But, yeah,
knowings.
their natural knowing, not rely upon a person. And it's kind of nice to have a grandfather that they do have, because this man is supposed to be the mouthpiece of God, but yet they see how he treats different people behind the scenes, and they're going, okay. So to be able to look at kind of with not the veil of a prophet over their eyes and see how he behaves in the background, where other people within the community don't see that side of him. I think they have grown up going, no, we're not going to listen to a prophet. We actually probably, and they do, his grandkids actually are more compassionate and love deeper and have more
Than
of a
I've ever
connection
seen
than
my
I've
father.
ever seen him. He works on it at times, but that, again, he breaks that illusion quite a lot. So he
Yeah.
could start looking inward on himself to probably to change a little bit, to be more loving, to be more kind, not
Yeah.
just to put on a show. So
Well, and for me, I mean, I might offend a lot of people when I say this. I apologize if I do, but we raised our children to be critical thinkers, self-thinking, they listen to that internal, this might not be right. And I don't believe you can be in a high controlled religion like that if you
question too much.
question too many things. And so that's one of the biggest things we've ever taught our kids. Always live in the question. When you live in the question, you're teachable. When you live in a finality about something is when you're not teachable. And so we always teach our kids to live in the questions about things. And you have to have some level of sheep in you. Like you have to be able to, you don't do a lot of critical thinking on your own when you're in a high demand religion like this. You do a lot of what you're told, or you turn around and tell other people what to do. You either want to be controlled or you want to control someone else, unfortunately. And that is how it is in not just in polygamy, but in any high demand religion. There has to be some level, you're taking away free agency of another human, or you're allowing your own free agency to be removed. And again, I don't mean to offend anybody by saying that, but we've raised our children to be very independent, very critical thinking people. In fact, my ex-husband wanted to go back to the AUB for a while and really, really hammered into my boys. I failed you, I abandoned you, I allowed your mom to get into your head and teach you guys that this wasn't right. And there's this back and forth over and over with our boys. And my son says to him, out of all the men on this planet, you think Dave Watson is the one who God talks to for all of us? Come on, there's no way. And of course, they don't refer to my husband by dad. They refer to him by his name. And my son says, there's absolutely no chance in hell, Joe, that Dave Watson talks to God for me. So I think that I feel like we have really given our kids that level of thinking, critical thinking. That's why it will never happen. I was, however, concerned about one of my daughters who wanted to date a boy from the AUB because, unfortunately, when you are ingrained that deeply in that doctrine, you can go astray for years, like my ex-husband did, go astray for years and years and years, and then decide you want to go back. And if that ever happened with Corey, it'd be an instant divorce for us, unfortunately. But if you ever decided you wanted to go back to the AUB,
okay. Yeah. Well,
I mean, it will never happen.
it'll never happen.
But I did not want her to date this young man because, unfortunately, more times than not, the man is the one who wants to go back. The women, very often do we ever see women say, yeah, let's go screw up my whole life and let you sleep with 5 other women. Most women don't do that. But the men do. The men are like, God's telling me that I need a 16-year-old wife. We got to go back to polygamy. That you see that happen a lot. So, yeah. But no, my ex-husband is on a mission to get my boys to embrace and accept some level of doctrine that he wants to cram down their throats right now. And both boys are being very, that's one thing I'm grateful for. All of my kids are very secure in who they are.
They're more educated.
I know, we love listening to their
they're more
responses to him
educated
because we're like, we never would have thought of
in
that.
his own dogma.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, they have basically had this dogma taught by them, I guess, from his side, and they've studied into it. And of course, they've grown up with us, where we pointed out the flaws in the dogma, how they contradict each other. And so I feel like they have more knowledge about the dogma than he does himself. So
Yeah.
Because he gets his dogma from his leadership. So.
Right. Right. And so, yeah. But the follow-up statement to that was when Ruth and her brother Matt, and how Matt deciding to go back into polygamy hurt their relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does happen a lot. Unfortunately, I do see that. I know a ton of people personally that I've seen those things happen to, where one sibling decides to go back, the other ones don't, and it severs their relationship. And unfortunately, I don't understand how a religion that teaches about eternal families is okay with family severing. That makes zero sense to me. And that God's going to sever you from your family, that you're going to sever a family member from you. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Thank goodness I've never understood that, because for some people, it makes perfect sense. Well, you're not doing what God wanted you to do, so adios, you know? So, yeah. But no, I never worry about my children ever doing that. Okay, there's a question that says, from Viola, that says, during an interview with Adam, he did a word association at the end. He said God and he did a one word. He said one word, and we're supposed to say what we think. He said God, and Mel said me. Can you elaborate on that for me? I'm still trying to understand your response. I feel so. For me, I feel like we're always looking for an external validation, and most people look for an external validation. When you're raised in a high demand religion, it goes even one step further. You're taught you don't have that direct connection. You have to go through a worthy priesthood holder to get that connection. And so when I think of God, I think of myself and that direct connection. It's not, I don't have to go through Corey as a worthy priesthood holder. He doesn't have to go through the leader of the church as a worthy priesthood holder, who then goes to God and speaks to that person, who then comes to Corey, who then comes to me. I don't believe in that. So when he said God, I think absolutely, I have a direct connection to source. It's not goes through multiple layers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What did you think?
And as God the creator, he created us in his own image. He created, we are his creation. We are his love. And so, yeah, when I hear the term God, I mean, when I hear the term God, I am his creation. I am his child. I am love itself. And so it is my job to try to emulate that love out to the people I know. And so it is, again, probably that argument against the way we were taught, that we don't have a direct connection with him. And I feel like we actually do. He created us, not through some line of people. So yeah, it is. He's just my creator, who I want to become more like. I feel like the essence of God is the essence of love. And
right. So hopefully that answers your question.
I'm trying to perfect myself to become the most loving, kind person to everybody I run into and know. So so hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. I have there was one question I was just going to answer. Do your family members that are still in the AUB think that they were treated harshly as children? I don't know. I'd have to talk to them. I don't want to speak for them, because I haven't had those types of conversations, at least with my siblings. But I might get a lot of hate for this. The ones who are still in the AUB were not treated like the rest of us. Let's put it that way. They were coddled a lot more. They were, They're raised up as a righteous, loved seed.
Their mom beat my mom's children, but would not allow her children to be spanked. So there's just a lot of that going on. Her mom their mom was different. They were treated with a lot more of a gentle, caring hand than the rest of the children were. And I know I want to be careful because I don't want to offend my siblings, because I do love them. One of the children from that mother reached out to me after we started our podcast and was so apologetic and said, I had no idea Dad did that to you guys. He did not do that to my mom or her children. And I said, I know, because your mother would never have allowed that ever. But she in turn turned around and beat my mother's children because my mother would allow it. So that's my answer, is that they were cared for with a more gentle hand than we were. What do you think in your case?
Well, I'm trying to think who's still a part of it. Yeah, my older brother and then my younger brother. Yeah, I don't think my older brother was treated any different or better
Yeah.
than we were. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard stories from all three of my siblings that are in there, and there were moments that they were scared. So
Yeah.
but yeah. But then again, what's just surprising to me is one of my siblings disciplines the exact same way that I felt like we were disciplined by our father. So
Yeah.
he didn't fall far from the tree. So
Yeah. So we do talk about that a lot. And I actually I think I made a video on that, that situation about my other mother, because I was 16 and that's the first, I thought my dad was literally I thought I was a dead person. That's the most scared I've ever been for my life, because that other mother beat the crap out of my little sister for doing, because in polygamy, there tends to be, 2 kids the same age, 3 kids the same age. You have sets of twins and triplets, we all call them. And so for the set of twins, her son and my sister were doing the exact same thing, but she beat the crap out of my little sister, who was 3 years old at the time, and her son was 3 years old, and she didn't even spank him. And my mom was out of town, I was in charge, and I lost my mind on her. And I called her the B word, and I was just done. I was like, I have watched you abuse us our entire life. You will not do that to my siblings. I lost my mind on her, and I called her the B word.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and it was not beautiful. It was so far from the word beautiful. And my dad and one of her children ran out to the garage. Melanie just called my mom this name. And I was like, I don't even care. I was so done being abused at that point by this woman, and that I did not want to watch the next generation go through it. And so my dad comes in, and he's just comes at me, and I'm thinking it's over. I'm done. I'm dead. He's going to kill me right here and now. But yeah. And he put us both in a room and made us work things out. And one of her children was screaming at the top of her lungs saying, Jesus said, love everyone. I'm all, shut up. You get out of here. Then tell that to your mom, because she doesn't love everyone. It was a moment. I was 16 and I was at my breaking point watching the unfairity of an abuse in my family. So yeah,
became a defender.
I did.
Yep.
And so that's one of the reasons why I relate to Ruth so much in her book. I defended. I was literally willing to give up my life in that moment for this 3-year-old little sister, because I was so done with the unfairities. And so yeah, her and I hashed it out in the room, and I told her if she ever touched one of my siblings again, I would kill her myself. And
Has she?
I don't think she ever has. So no, that was a moment so yeah. Thank you, Nightbird. Congratulations. I've been hyping you whenever I can. I appreciate your attention to everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then somebody says, will your dad be the prophet until he dies? Yes, he will be. Yep.
And even after he passes on, he will be a previous prophet, still have his picture up on the wall. Mm-hmm. That was the last prophet. He was this, he was that. So, but we still have to listen to him as long as it doesn't contradict what current prophet is saying. And so
Yeah.
we don't follow the living prophet, but we do. So now we have to kiss the living prophet's ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, Loop Tape says it must be very painful to say that a sibling's mother would never have allowed that, but your mom did, especially as you continued loving her, just validating that difficulty. It was hard. Again, what we had said earlier, that you do what you're told, and my mom was following,
doing what she was told.
doing what she was told.
Yep.
And she
And at
was,
some point, I mean, even with my mother, at some point something switched where, okay, this will no longer happen again. So,
Right.
and something changed.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'd rather be called a B word than be a child abuser. It takes all kinds, I suppose. Yeah. I thought I
not
would
what it
never,
says. I'd rather be called a bitch than be a.
I just wasn't going to say that word. But yeah, it is. It's really, I mean, as a child, you can only take so much of the unfairities and the abuse. And I swore I would never speak to this woman again. And she has since had a couple medical issues, and she is a completely different person. And one of the last times I was around her, and she was so sweet and so kind to me, and I was like, oh, don't you even dare, old lady. Like, you're just messing with my head now. But then the next time I was around her, she was kind again. And I was like, what happened? And so I, again, want to give people grace if I can. And I don't want somebody to judge me for who I was. I've been a horrible person a good chunks of parts of my life. And I would hope somebody would give me grace. So,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap up here in just a minute. If you have any burning questions you want us to answer, go ahead and throw them out now. But we're going to wrap up in just a couple of minutes. Let's see. Atheist, agnostic belief in a higher power. Keep an open mind, look at all sides, and decide for yourself. I agree with that one, Betty. Viola says, thank you, Mel. I was raised in a religion where you went through someone to approach God. I now have that one-on-one relationship. And I feel like that's where you become the most secure in who you are as a person, who you are as, your value as a soul is when you do have that direct connection to source. Oh, what?
That word, you deem yourself worthy enough to speak to directly with your maker versus hoping that somebody here on the earth, whatever that is, a father, a leader, deems you worthy enough to speak to the Lord for you. So,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it is a whole change of mindset from the way we grew up. So,
Right. Completely off topic, but have you been following stuff on the Epstein files, or does it hit too close for home? I have not followed those. Mostly because it takes a lot of mental energy to even talk about polygamy like we do. And I'm afraid that would be too close to home for me. And so I feel that there's a social responsibility to understand what's happening. And I also feel like there's a personal responsibility to keep myself emotionally and mentally healthy. And I've experienced that trauma so close to home that I don't feel like I want to jump into that. So I'm not evading a social responsibility by understanding it, but I feel like I can understand how deep it really is without actually having to go through it and read some of it, because I feel like we lived some of it, if that makes sense. What do you think?
well, just one of the ahas I was having by reading this book is we were raised in a community where you just didn't, it was none of your business. We were told so many times that certain things were none of our business. And so you would just look the other way. And I feel like as we've grown up, there's a lot of people that have been coming out going, this is our business. And so a lot of people are now starting to be held accountable. It's hard to hold accountable people who are in such a higher place, but they need to be held accountable.
Yep.
So it is our business. It is our business to look into. And so,
Yeah.
and hold people accountable for their action doesn't, even if they are the leader of a charismatic leader of a church. So
Right.
if
So,
there's abuse, there's abuse. And we have got to start to become mother bears or father bears that are protective of this kind of abuse. So,
yeah. So no,
and if we're talking about it more
exactly.
and making it, then it's hard for people like this to hide in the shadows. And that's what they've been doing, hiding in communities, in shadows, on islands. So
Yeah.
yes, we all need to be talking about it and holding accountable those who are harming children. So
Yeah. No, and I absolutely agree. And for me, again, it's a lot for me right now to digest, knowing, just seeing some of the stuff I've already seen. Oh,
well, you kind of sometimes it can feel helpless where so many people are talking about it, and yet those who have the ability to or the responsibility to hold somebody accountable, like in the book, don't hold them accountable. 6
Right.
months of a slap on the hand, and those people that were harmed just sit there and then are considered rebellious because they chose to stand up and leave and take children that could be abused out of that situation, and they're almost shamed by the community or shamed
Right.
versus the aggressor within it. So it does get we should be holding those people who have done harm accountable.
Well, and I think that's one of the most impactful lines to me of her entire book was when she said, when the mother came home after the stepfather was banished from the community for 2 years, and the mother came home and went after the daughter for it, and because he had been abusing this daughter.
Forgive.
And she said the mother was so upset and so angry. And she says, why couldn't we have kept this within our own family? This
Hidden.
is why we talk. This is why we speak out, is because that's when abusers thrive, is when no one says anything, no one does anything. So that's another, and I've even had people reach out to me. Why are you guys having to make all this stuff public? Why are you guys talking about this online? I mean, we're trying to do the best we can in our own little corner of the world. And when you pull that kind of behavior back, and that's another reason why I really want to stress that we are all born with that internal natural knowing of what's right and what is right for us. And every time we ignore that, we ignore a little part of ourselves. Every time we compromise a decision because it makes someone else uncomfortable, we become untrue to ourselves, and then we don't stand up for people who are abused. We don't make those, and so we have to start listening to that internal dialogue, because as humans, the animal world has it. As humans, we all have it. We are all born with that natural knowing. What were you laughing at?
You don't want to be smote.
Yeah.
No.
Smoted. I saw that one.
Smoted. We move quickly. So.
Dodge, weave,
Dodge,
dodge,
weave.
weave. Yeah. And Catherine, thank you so much. She says, you guys are great moderators and take all questions. I hope people won't forget to like the video or live.
We
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank you
that.
guys so much. We really do appreciate it. We love this community. That's another reason why I was like, we love that. I love that we can try to be as interactive with people as possible, because we really do appreciate these lives. We love doing the Q&As. We love answering questions. We love just randomly talking off the top of our head. It's therapeutic for us too.
Yep.
It's really healing for us, especially where we've had, the last couple days we've had some crunchiness going on between us, and so it helps us to connect too, which I really appreciate that. I think we're gonna wrap that up. Let me see. Definitely, yeah, if you can hype the video after we're done. We need more gentlemen like Corey in the world. God bless you both. I agree. Corey
Thank you.
he is an amazing human. I got pretty darn lucky.
I'm a work in progress, constantly trying to become better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we thank you guys
We
all for
understand.
being here today. We and for helping us to get to that 20,000. I never even thought, honestly, when people are like, you should start a YouTube, you should, I didn't think anyone would want to hear anything. And so I appreciate so much everyone being here, everyone sharing our content. We are, again, I saw a comment about the 27 laws of polygamy that will drop on Monday. So we will drop our first episode of that on Monday. Again, we're going to break it down into 3 parts because there's a part for the priesthood holder, there's a part for the sister wives, and then there's a part for children. And so we're going to break them down into the 3 different sections so that we can touch each subject deeply. So that first one will drop on Monday, and then we will do another live on Tuesday to really kind of, because again, I feel like the book club was a little bit incomplete. I would like to finish that and give you the rest of our thoughts on the rest of that book. And then, we're going to be doing some really fun interviews next week with a couple of other creators that I'm excited about. We've been trying to branch out and connect with other creators. And I'm excited. We will be going back up to Pinedale here pretty soon. I have a brother who joined the Catholic Church. He has a Catholic wife, and he lives up there, and he joined the Catholic Church, and we're going to be going up there for their ceremony because they're going to be getting married under the Catholic Church umbrella. So I'm excited to go support him in the path that he's chosen for him and his family. They've been married for 10 years. He just converted to Catholicism, and they want to have their marriage blessed under the church. So I'm excited to go support him in
it'll be interesting to see.
living what he believes is true. So we're going to go up and watch his baptism and then his wedding. So I'm excited to be a part of that. So we'll be going back up to Pinedale here pretty soon for that. And,
Well, up to Montana.
well, we're going to stay in Pinedale, but
there's not a Catholic church.
no,
in
there's
Pinedale.
not a Catholic church. I'm sorry.
It's all
it's in the
AUB.
town close to that, but we are going to stay with family and friends. And
there you go.
and so I'm excited to go see that too. But somebody was asking if we have other channels, because for people to keep, we do have an Instagram and we do have a Facebook. I need to get better about
TikTok.
Yeah, and we do have a TikTok. I need to get better about maybe creating a group on Facebook where you guys can connect with each other. I appreciate your wanting to do that. I love that that you guys want to stay connected with each other. So I'll look into that. I just don't know. I do have to answer this one last thing, because Corey, watch the movie Dogma.
Oh,
I think
love
you
it.
would like
I
it.
own
Kevin
it.
Smith wrote it, with directed the movie. I'm like, Alanis Morissette plays God. That is Corey's spirit movie. Like,
It is.
he lives for that. In fact, at one point we didn't even realize we had 3 versions of it on DVD,
That's right.
because
And it's one that I was showing my brothers growing up, my family members growing up. So Dogma and Life of Brian from Monty Python would frustrate my parents, because I would show them, or we would all quote parts of that movie, and they're like, that's so sacrilegious. And we'd be like, I know it is. And so they are. Dogma and Life of Brian were 2 of my favorite religious movies. So
oh my gosh, yeah. I just had to acknowledge that one, because I know that is one of your all-time
it
favorites.
is the golden calf. In fact, we met with what is her name? Slightly High Historian, and she had Mubi,
Oh yeah.
the golden calf hat, and I just we did a great connection on that, because I instantly recognized the golden calf that she had from the movie. And
Yeah,
so we
if any of
talked a
you
little bit
follow
about
her,
the movie.
she is hilarious. Her
Great
name's
sense of
Slightly
humor.
High to Historian.
Yeah.
And we went and met with her a couple days ago and had like a 4-hour conversation. We could have kept going because
Yeah.
she's so amazing. Yeah, she ended up having one of those, and Corey's like, "Oh, I know
I
who
gotta
that."
get that hat.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
a brilliant hat.
Yep. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate this live. Thank you guys so much for keeping the comment section healthy and
Yep.
clean. We do appreciate that too. And we will see you guys on
Yep.
the next one.
We appreciate you guys, 20,000 of you. We love you all. Thanks for making us bigger cult member or cult leaders than her dad. So that's actually brilliant. So
We appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys.
Have a
So-
great weekend.